Hey everyone, in this video we'll be talking about bot farming and how it impacts Markov excellence. So let's start from the beginning. Pre 6.0, we didn't have bots in the game and we would get 15v15 games during regular hours, and during off time we'll get anywhere between 7v7 to 15v15 depending on what matchmaker can find in a reasonable time. After 6.0, Cold War was added to the game, and they had also added bots to Cold War. They started with having at least 7 players on each team, and the remaining will be populated by bots. But then it was increased or reduced to having only 3 players in each team, and 12 of them can potentially be bots. And because our player base was split into World War II and co-op, and then World War II and Cold War, and then further into 4 parts, then they added co-op. The bots were also added to World War II. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I don't think they should have added it. We could have stick to the original system where we would get anywhere between 7v7 matches to 15v15 during low population hours. And to be honest, I find those less tanks matches more enjoyable. But I think it's a more fair system because that is what game identity is. I started playing tanks because of PvP. I wanted to fight against other players. But now we have moved from PvP to even PvE in multiplayer. And Wargaming confirmed that that is just normal game experience. Fighting with bots, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is just normal World of Tanks gaming experience. But I don't agree with it because, as I said, the game was PvP, but now we have moved even in multiplayer to PvE. And we already have co-op where there is PvE. So I don't blame the players for using it or abusing it because Markov excellence is hard. We use the same system as PC. We have two handicaps. One to remove the high damage game. The second one to remove the different results in map. And that's what PC use. But we don't have the player population. So our marks are very, very hard to begin with. It takes a lot of battles to get those marks. So some players, they get frustrated or they don't want to spend that much time, but still want to mark. They just play during low population hours, for example, playing on EU, when everyone is sleeping, and then you get a lot more bots. You can farm damage easily. You don't drop. You can achieve mark of excellence in a reasonable time frame without getting frustrated. And as I said, Wargaming said that's fine. That's just a normal system. And that's the reason I don't blame players that use or abuse the system. And at the same time, I don't agree with the system. As I said earlier, right? This is a PvP game. I don't want to farm bots. That's not the reason I bought premium tanks, right? And that's what I loved about the game, that we never had bots. And it's unfortunate we do now. So what happens when these players farm bots is you will have high damage games. That means the Mark of Excellence requirement for tanks will go further high up. It's already hard to get 4th Mark of Excellence, which I think should never have been added to the game. That was a mistake because our game can't support to get the achievement. For our achievement to be valid, I think it should be achievable in a timely manner by the top players of the game, right? We had a 3rd Mark of Excellence at 95% and 4th Mark at 100%, and I don't think there's any tier 10 that you can, well, maybe there are some, like some really, really popular ones like E5, E100, where you can get 4th Mark of Excellence in a reasonable number of battles. And that's only like the top players. But there are like majority of the tanks where you can't even get the 4th Mark unless you get really, really lucky. You need that nice session. And to be honest, if you're someone who only plays PCARs, you're not getting 4th Mark. You have to play, let's say in the morning, even if you're not facing bots, right? The matchmaking during PCARs is just super bad because everyone's tired, everyone's just YOLOing, and you just can't achieve it in majority of the things, and then you have to do it. So all this, like, there are multiple things, adding 4th Mark, making it impossible to achieve, adding a bot system, forcing indirectly players to abuse that bot system, and making things even worse for other players that do not want to, right? And that's, I think the mark should be legitimately available for everyone to achieve. Not everyone, but at least the players that are like super good, right? You should be able to achieve it. The 4th Mark of Excellence and even third mark in a reasonable number of battles. We had the mark requirement set super high as well, but recently they reduced or adjusted the 3 marks of excellence, 1 to 3 marks of excellence, so it's a little bit more bearable now. However, the 4th mark is still very, very frustrating. And what happens when you make a system which is almost impossible? People will find ways that they can do it quickly. So the solution to all this bot farming, or so the game stays true to the identity, is first we should, in my opinion, which is the better solution, go back to having smaller games during low population hours if the game can't find them. Second, at the least, we should not add those games to the MOE requirements. So for example, if I have a really high damage game, and even if the game has 1 bot in it, that game shouldn't go to increase the overall requirements of the tank, and it should also not count towards my MOE progress. That's the second solution that is acceptable to me. Third, at the very least, is the MOE requirements can count for my tank. So like, for example, in this game, there are bots, right? I can go up, that's fine, if we have to do it, but it shouldn't increase the requirements of the tank. So overall subsets should exclude any game that have at least 1 bot, and the data set stays true, so that the people that farm bots will have no impact, but the people that don't, they won't have this feeling of being cheated out, that they are fighting against an unfair requirements because someone is abusing the system. Which again, it is not abusing. They call it, like, some people feel it is abusing, right? From their perspective, they're right as well. And Wargaming say it is not, it is a normal behavior. And if a company says that, what can I say, right? What can I say that, no, this is wrong? If they make a product and they set the rules, right? They said this is right, this is wrong. So like, I can't judge anyone. And whatever players do, right, that's up to them. But at the least, we can improve this system. And that's what I believe in. The system should be improved, where players shouldn't get this feeling that we either just do bot farming to get the mark, or just suffer and never achieve anything. And I think that's a fair solution. Now, moving on to the second component, do we think fixing bot farming really gonna stop the complaints? No, it won't. Players will still complain about other people cheating on marks. That's like the second topic. And why do I say that? Let's say bots are not in the game, people will start complaining about platoons, which they did for the longest time as well. They're like, I did my mark solo, there are platoons in the game. They're doing a platoon, for example, it's a medium, it has a light tank and a TD or whatever, right? So they're gonna still complain about it. So we can't solve every problem. There's people will still complain about it, but I think that is slightly different, because that doesn't exploits the PvE component of the game. It's still PvP. Platoons are still part of the game, even though people complain about that mark should only be solo. And I don't agree with it. I think it's like a platoon is part of the game from the beginning, and that is fine, right? They'll still complain about it. And yeah, let me go back even further. So when I started playing the game, there were 3 servers. I'll play on NA West because that was my home, and I played on it because it had a better connection. As I came to know more people, some of them, they would like switch to NA East during peak times on NA West, and if they play on NA East, they'll go to NA West. Basically, they would try to avoid peak times because, as I said, for obvious reason, the matchmaking is very, very rough on peak times, because people who play, they're already tired, they came back from work, they just want to rush, play a few games, do the ops, and they don't want to camp, right? And first of all, you're already tired from throughout the day. So it's a very bad experience, and people used to switch servers. They do it on PC as well. I watch PC streamers, and if things are going like stream rolling on EU1, they'll go to EU2 or EU3, or same with RU1, RU2, and EU3, right? And which is fine. But the point being made is, players always use any methods they could to make the games more favorable. Now, of course, it's bots. Before, they just would play or avoid playing at the peak time, or as I said, Maybe they'll play in Platoon. Which again, as I said, that is fine, right? I won't have issues with anything, but we might still get people complain about that, even if the bot farming is fixed, and that will. But that game already existed, or that issue already existed throughout the time. The complaints will always be there, but those are slightly different. And to avoid that rush, right, there were people that will also switch from NA to EU back in the day as well. Of course, they were real players, but the gameplay would be better. And the same thing would happens now. The difference is now when you switch to EU, you get bots, right? And I personally, I don't care what others do, right? It is annoying if their battle count is making things impossible for me, but I think Wargaming is at fault here. I don't think they should have added fourth mark. And I also think we need a system that is achievable for our player population. We are not PC, we don't have that much population, right? Because whenever a tank becomes earnable or free, that tank becomes easily marketable because everyone has it, and it has like a general requirements. But the tanks that are not commonly played, it's impossible to do with our population. So we need like either another handicap for mark requirements. It isn't fair to do like 6k in tier 10. Every game like play almost perfect, not even a single mistake to achieve that mark, and it takes hundreds and hundreds of battles to get that mark. And so for example, if you want to, let's say, do all tier 10s, right, you will not be able to do it because they're super high, and let's say you do manage to, it'll take thousands of games for you to do it. I think any tank should be 4 markable within like 100 battles, and some that are super hard, like 200 battles, right? Someone should be able to mark it in 200 battles in a normal playing experience, if they're just playing best by themselves, right? Not in a platoon. Of course, things can be made easier while you're in a platoon, and that is part of normal game experience. So yeah, let me know what do you think about it. Should they remove bots altogether? Would you be fine with playing 7v7 or 10v10 or 12v12? Or they should have that, you won't have any progress if there are bots in the game, as well as the dataset won't get updated. On the third option, that you'll still make progress, but dataset will get updated. So what do you suggest? What do you think about it? But as I said, even if in the best case scenario the bots are removed, people would still just go to EU just to play players that are like half asleep, right? Because the matchmaking is just better. And we will still have complaints that they're playing on EU, because a lot of players that do complain, they do play on different servers at different times throughout the years. But I think at least the bot farming issue from a personal reason, right? I play the game for PvP, not for PvE, and it just doesn't sound fair. It won't resolve any other issues. But at least if someone that is playing regular hours or like PvP, they won't feel cheated in some way. And because even then, if you're playing regular hours, you still get bots time to time, right? Like if I play throughout the day, if I play 10 games, I might get 1 bot game, right? And for me, that is still unfair. When you go on to EU, right? If you play 10 games, you'll probably get 6 or 7 bot games. So I don't know like where to draw the line, that how many amount of bot games are fair and how many are unfair. To me, there should be like 0, right? And that's why I suggested like the first system. And yeah. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and do let me know in the comments what your opinion is. And I'll catch you in the next one.